There's a power that lies in stillness. Not the kind of stillness that comes from doing nothing, but the kind that flows from knowing who you are and why you're here. Most people spend their lives reacting to circumstances, to people's opinions, to stress, to pressure. But reaction is not leadership. Reaction is not dominion. And you were not designed to live under emotional dictator. You were designed to govern. Let me ask you something. If a lion roars in the jungle, does the eagle panic? No. The eagle is not moved because it knows where it belongs, high above the noise. That's the kind of mindset you must develop, a mindset that says, I'm aware of the storm, but I'm not in it. I feel the pressure, but I'm not controlled by it. I see the chaos, but I refuse to let it inside of me. That is strength, that is power. And that is what separates those who rule from those who are ruled. You see, calm is not weakness. Calm is confidence under control. Calm says, I've already won this battle before it even began because I refuse to give it my emotions. When you stay calm, you remain in control. And when you remain in control, nothing can manipulate your purpose. The problem is many people let little things sabotage big destinies. Someone offends them, now they're distracted. Something doesn't go their way, now they lose focus. That's emotional slavery. But you weren't born to be a slave to moods, to stress, or to what people think of you. You were born to master your environment, not be mastered by it. The greatest proof of power is peace. When you can smile in pressure, when you can walk through fire and not smell like smoke, when you can hear the insult and still bless, when you can be surrounded by noise and remain anchored, that's not normal. That's dominion. When you're calm, you're not avoiding the storm. You're choosing to rise above it. You're not denying the pressure. You're declaring that it has no right to control your spirit. That's real power. Power isn't always loud. It doesn't always need to shout or prove anything. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who says the least, moves the slowest, and breathes the deepest. Not because they don't feel the weight, but because they know they were built to carry it with grace. Think of the ocean. On the surface, waves may rise and crash, storms can rage, but if you go deep enough, the water is still, unshaken. That's how your spirit must be trained, deep, stable, unmoved. Life will always test your ability to remain calm. People will provoke you, situations will challenge you, disappointments will tempt you to break character. But the one who rules their spirit is mightier than the one who conquers a city. Staying calm under pressure isn't about avoiding difficulty, it's about demonstrating mastery over yourself. So many people lose their influence, their opportunities, even their relationships, because they haven't learned to keep their emotions in check. They overreact. They lash out. They collapse under pressure. Why? Because they've confused emotion with authority. They believe the louder they are, the stronger they seem. But that's not kingdom behavior. In the kingdom, silence often speaks louder than shouting. Patience communicates more than panic. And peace under fire tells the world, I know who I am, I know who sent me, I know why I'm here. True calmness comes from identity. When you know who you are, you don't need to defend yourself at every turn. You don't have to react to every opinion or fight every battle. When you are secure in your purpose, you understand that not every fire needs your attention and not every voice deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not out of fear, but out of focused discipline. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you know when to speak, how to speak, and why you speak. That wisdom, that maturity. And maturity is the soil where peace grows. There are people who will intentionally try to disturb your calm to feel powerful. But when you remain calm, you disarm them. When you stay composed, you break the cycle. You refuse to be a puppet pulled by strings of offense, insecurity, or anxiety. You're not cold, you're controlled. You must begin to see calmness as a spiritual weapon. It's your anchor in storms, your shield in chaos, your quiet strength in moments of pressure. It says, I am not moved by what I see, I am moved by what I know. That's confidence under control. It is strategic. It is intentional. It is power wrapped in patience. If you desire to walk in influence, if you want your presence to carry weight, then you must embrace the strength of calm. It's not about being untouched by life. It's about being unshaken by it. Because when you stay calm, you stay powerful. Emotional reactions surrender power to external forces. That means every time you allow something or someone outside of you to control what happens inside of you, you're giving away your authority. And the dangerous part is most people do it unconsciously. They think reacting is normal, that is just a part of being human. But the truth is, reacting emotionally to every situation is the fastest way to lose your influence, your clarity, and your ability to lead your own life. You must understand that your emotions are not meant to lead you. They are meant to follow your convictions. When your emotions are in charge, your decisions will always be unstable, your words will often be regretted, and your peace will be temporary. That's because emotional reactions are usually responses to temporary situations. They flare up fast and burn out just as quickly, but the damage they leave behind can be lasting. Words spoken in anger, actions taken in fear, choices made in anxiety. These are not just emotional outbursts. They are moments where power was transferred to something outside of you. And here's the reality. People and circumstances will test you. They will push your buttons, trigger your past, and challenge your calm. Life will present situations that feel unfair, painful, even personal. But if you keep giving your emotions the final say, you're allowing everything around you to decide how you feel, how you think, and how you act. That is not control. That is surrendering to chaos. And you weren't created to be a servant of chaos. What you must do is train your emotions to serve your purpose. Emotions are real, but they are not always right. They should inform you, not rule you. You can feel pain without becoming bitterness. You can feel fear without losing faith. You can feel anger without causing destruction. The strength of your life will not be measured by how many battles you win, but by how many storms you pass through without losing yourself. And make no mistake, there is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is instinctive. It comes from wounds, from triggers, from insecurity. Response is intentional. It comes from wisdom, from vision, from identity. Reaction says, you hurt me, so I will hurt back. Response says, I am too focused on my purpose to be distracted by offense. When you react, you play on their level. When you respond, you stay rooted in your calling. Some people provoke you just to see if they can move you. And when you overreact, you give them the satisfaction of knowing they've taken your peace. That's why the enemy doesn't always need to destroy you. He just needs to distract you. If he can get you to react emotionally, he can delay your assignment. He can cause you to doubt yourself. He can detour your energy into conflict instead of progress. You've got to develop the discipline of emotional stillness. That means learning how to pause before you respond, learning how to breathe before you speak, learning how to observe before you assume. That is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is spiritual intelligence. It is the posture of someone who refuses to let temporary chaos interrupt eternal purpose. If you are always reacting to life, you are not leading it. Leaders do not follow emotion. They govern it. They decide, no matter what happens around me, I will not give anything outside of me the power to change who I am inside. That's authority. That's maturity. That's dominion. So protect your power by mastering your response. Choose to be unmoved by provocation and unshaken by pressure, because your strength is not proven in how loud you can react, but in how still you can remain when everything around you is screaming for attention. Stay calm, stay powerful. True strength is remaining unmoved in the midst of chaos. Anyone can appear strong when everything is going well, when people are clapping, when plans are unfolding smoothly, and when there is no resistance. But life doesn't test your strength in peaceful moments. It tests your strength when the ground beneath you begins to shake. The real measure of power is not in how much you can lift in the gym, but in how much pressure you can carry in your spirit without breaking character, without losing your calm, and without forgetting your purpose. Chaos has a way of exposing what you truly believe. It strips away the image, the appearance, the surface confidence, and reveals whether you're truly rooted or just pretending. When trouble comes and people panic, when circumstances shift and fear enters the room, the one who stands still, the one who remains composed, becomes the silent anchor everyone watches. Not because they're immune to what's happening, but because they're grounded in something deeper than what's happening. That is what sets true leaders apart. That is what reveals maturity. You see, when chaos surrounds you and you choose to be unmoved, you're not denying reality. You're asserting a greater reality. You're saying, yes, this storm is real, but so is my peace. Yes, the pressure is real, but so is my purpose. Yes, the attack is real, but so is my authority. Remaining unmoved is not being numb, it is being fully aware, but spiritually anchored. It's having the wisdom to know when to act and the courage to know when to wait. It's refusing to let the environment determine your emotional state. Some people live on emotional roller coasters because they allow every disruption, every disappointment, and every disagreement to shake them. But you were not designed to be tossed around by every wave that hits your life. You were built with a foundation. You were formed to stand. And the storms of life are not always sent to destroy you. It is to reveal that your peace was never surface level, that your character was not a performance, and that your strength was not a show. There is a calm that confuses chaos. There is a stillness that silences the storm. And you have access to that if you train yourself not to be moved by noise. Don't let every situation call you out of your peace. Don't allow every attack to demand your energy. You can't stop the winds from blowing, but you can decide whether or not they move you. You can hear the storm and still walk in confidence. You can feel the heat and still move forward without fear, because strength is not loud, it is consistent. When you remain unmoved, you preserve your power. You don't spend it on emotional reactions. You don't waste it on defending your position. You use it to build, to lead, to influence. You don't let chaos change your voice. You let your voice change the atmosphere. You walk into unstable rooms and bring stability, not by force, but by the authority of calm presence. That's power. But this level of strength doesn't come by accident. It must be developed through discipline. It's built through quiet tests, through private moments where you choose peace over panic, where you choose faith over fear, where you choose stability over reaction. It's in those daily decisions where strength is refined, not so the world sees it, but so when the chaos comes, you already know how to stand. So train your spirit to be still when everything is moving. Practice composure when emotions want to lead, because real power is not shown by how fast you move, but by how deeply you are anchored when life starts shaking. Stay unmoved. Stay powerful. Mastering your emotions is key to fulfilling your purpose. Emotions are powerful, but they were never meant to lead. They were meant to serve. When emotions are in control, purpose gets delayed. Clarity becomes foggy. Vision gets distorted. That's why so many gifted people never fulfill their assignment. Not because they lacked talent, but because they were slaves to their own emotions. They allowed temporary feelings to sabotage eternal purposes. Every person carries potential, but potential without emotional discipline is dangerous. You can have the right idea, the right opportunity, even the right timing, but if your emotions are unstable, you'll mismanage what was meant to elevate you. You'll say the wrong thing in a moment of frustration. You'll walk away too soon because of hurt. You'll burn bridges because pride convinced you to prove a point instead of protecting your future. And what happens? The opportunity passes, the door closes, and purpose is put on hold, not by your enemy, but by your own emotional decisions. To fulfill purpose, you must learn to feel deeply without being led blindly. Feelings are part of your humanity. God designed you with emotions, but emotions were never meant to be your compass. They are your signals, not your steering wheel. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you should stop. Just because you feel anger doesn't mean you should speak. Just because you feel discouraged doesn't mean you should quit. Maturity is learning how to sit with your emotions, process them with wisdom, and still move forward with intention. Purpose is too costly to be put in the hands of untrained emotions. Your destiny requires strategy, and strategy demands clarity. Emotions left unchecked create confusion. You'll find yourself caught in cycles, starting and stopping, rising and falling, trusting and doubting, all because your emotional maturity hasn't caught up with your spiritual calling. It's not enough to have a dream. You must develop the inner strength to carry that dream under pressure, because purpose is not fulfilled in convenience, it is fulfilled in chaos. And if you haven't trained your emotions, you will fold under the weight of responsibility. Think of how many great leaders fell, not because of lack of skill, but because they allowed unchecked emotions, whether it was anger, pride, insecurity, or fear, to drive their decisions. Purpose without emotional discipline is like a loaded ship with no rudder. It looks impressive, but it drifts aimlessly, crashes easily, and never reaches its destination. The storm didn't sink it, the lack of control did. That's why your greatest victory is not in public applause, but in private mastery. When you can walk through rejection and still keep your heart clean, you're mastering your emotions. When you can lead through conflict without retaliating in bitterness, you're mastering your emotions. When you can love people who misunderstand you and still move forward with grace, you're not weak, you're powerful. In power, emotional discipline is not about being cold or detached, it's about being wise. It's about knowing that every emotion has a voice, but not every emotion deserves a vote. It's about allowing truth to lead while emotion follows. That's how purpose stays on course. Through conviction, not feelings, through principles, not mood swings. And make no mistake, you will be tested. Life will give you reasons to be offended, afraid, discouraged, or angry. But those moments are not just obstacles. They are training grounds. They are preparing you to carry more, to go further, to lead better. Because purpose without emotional maturity will always collapse under the pressure of destiny. So if you want to fulfill what you were born to do, master your emotions. Guard your peace. Respond with wisdom. And let your spirit lead, not your feelings. Because when your emotions are under control, your future is too. Peace in pressure reveals the presence of inner dominion. Anyone can feel calm when life is gentle. Anyone can smile when everything is going their way. But true power is tested when the pressure rises, when deadlines stack up, when betrayal comes from someone close, when expectations weigh heavy, and the world around you is filled with noise and uncertainty. It's in these moments that your inner authority is either exposed or revealed. Peace is not the absence of pressure, it is the presence of order in the midst of it. And that order comes from knowing who you are and who sent you. Inner dominion means you rule from the inside out, not the outside in. It means your joy, your clarity, your decisions, and your posture are not dictated by the instability around you. You operate from a different center, a different authority, a different source. And when that peace flows from within, it becomes untouchable. Many people live their lives waiting for peace to come from the outside. They wait for the job to change, the stress to stop, the people around them to act better. But if peace can only exist when things are perfect, it is not peace. It is relief. And relief is temporary. It depends on circumstances. But peace that comes from inner dominion remains, even when everything else is falling apart. Say, mi amor, even when everything else is falling apart. Pressure reveals what you've built inside. That's why people who haven't cultivated peace crack easily. They become aggressive, anxious, irritable, or withdrawn under pressure. They lose control, not because the pressure is greater than them, but because there's no solid ground inside them to stand on. You cannot fake peace. It's not a personality trait. It's not reserved for the quiet or introverted. It is cultivated, developed, and guarded through discipline and intentionality. Dominion begins with the ability to manage yourself. You can't lead anything outside of you until you've learned to govern what's within you. That means managing your thoughts when they start spiraling, taming your tongue when emotions run high, and anchoring your faith when fear tries to take root. That's what peace under pressure looks like. It's not that you don't feel the heat. It's that the fire can't burn what you've already surrendered to purpose. When people see you calm under pressure, it sends a message. This person is ruled by something higher. It sets you apart. It builds trust. It commands respect, not because you're pretending everything is fine, but because you've chosen not to let the pressure override your identity. You don't rush. You don't crumble. You don't make reckless decisions just to escape discomfort. You remain and you respond. But that kind of peace must be protected. It requires boundaries. It requires daily choices to silence what doesn't feed your spirit. You can't have peace if you feed on chaos. If your environment, your conversations, your thoughts are always filled with fear, competition, or offense, you will always be on edge. Dominion means filtering what enters your soul so you can maintain order within. And order is everything. Peace flows in order. Purpose flows in peace. The more peace you carry, the more space you create for clarity, creativity, and divine strategy. When you're at peace, you're able to hear clearly, move wisely, and speak with weight. You're not chasing validation. You're not controlled by pressure. You command the moment because you've conquered yourself. This is what it looks like to live from dominion. Not loud, not forceful, but deeply rooted. Still in the storm, calm in the fire, confident when things are uncertain, not because everything is easy, but because everything within you is settled. You are not reacting from emotion, you are responding from authority. So when pressure comes, let your peace be the evidence of who truly rules inside you. Stay calm, stay powerful. In a world that constantly pulls at your emotions, challenges your identity, and tests your resolve, the true mark of strength is not how loud you roar, but how still you can remain. Calmness is not passivity, it is authority under control. Emotional discipline is not denial, it is maturity in motion. And peace in pressure is not luck, it is the fruit of inner dominion. You were not created to be a victim of your environment. You were designed to master it from the inside out. Every time you choose stillness over chaos, restraint over reaction, and focus over distraction, you reclaim your power. You walk not as one who is tossed by the winds of life, but as one who governs them. Let your life be proof that unshakable peace is possible, that true leadership begins within, and that the calmest voice often carries the greatest power. So stay calm, stay grounded, and above all, stay powerful. Good luck on your journey, and thank you for listening.